some atmospheric pressure down here, I have less pressure up there, and so the net, because I have greater pressure and less pressure, this will move to the area of less pressure. If I throw a baseball, and the strings are important actually for this. If I throw a fastball, and where's my baseball? There we go. It's not advertising. Dead on. All right. As I throw a baseball, if I throw a baseball like this, I'm going to put a backspin on it. So the ball's going in that direction, which means the air is coming over the side of it. I put a backspin on it, so the ball's swinging around like this. The strings on the baseball are raised just slightly off the ball, which means they're interacting with the air a bit more. So the air on top here, right next to the baseball versus the air on the bottom, which air is going to be traveling faster across the ball?
The air on the back.
It's top or bottom, that's what I'm.
Oh,
So I got to vote for top,
top as well.
another top. Are we letting the voice of two speak for the entire group?
No, it's definitely on the top.
Definitely. Why on the top?
Because it doesn't have the little string to catch it.
No, I mean, the ball is spinning, so I just
Oh.
picked a moment in time.
I just think there's, like, it's just, it has more air, almost hitting it on the top. I'm just saying. I think there's just.
Do you mind asking the question one more time?
All right, so as the ball is being thrown, and a fastball, so there's a backspin on it. So the ball's going that way, and the baseball itself, relative to the center of mass, zipping around like that. The question is, will the air on the top of the ball or the bottom of the ball be traveling faster? All right, so, you good with the question, at least?
Yeah, I have
Okay.
a question now, thank you.
Would it be the bottom?
Why?
I remember airplanes, and I remember them saying something about the lift on the bottom, but that might be completely irrelevant to this.
We're gonna connect it to that in just a second.
Okay.
Better than I did the air resistance thing.
Okay.
Is it the top because it's rotating clockwise?
And,
That's all I have.
no. It is on top, first off. The air is traveling faster on top. Imagine that you've got, what's immediately coming to mind is someone shooting marbles at you. I'm trying to go for something less violent.
What about the rainbow thing on your desk?
Sure. All right. So you got a whole bunch of these coming at you right here. Now, you basically have, you're gonna be spinning around. Sure, let's make it like the baseball. As you're spinning around, this hand is gonna hit balls in that direction, this hand will hit balls in that direction. So as the balls are coming this way, which balls on average will be traveling faster?
The ones on, let me see, I guess your left.
Yeah, because that's the one where occasionally I'm hitting balls in the same direction. The strings. As the strings are coming in here, occasionally they're gonna hit the air molecules, and the air molecules are gonna be basically batted in the direction that they're going in, relative to the ball. Down here, you're hitting against the direction of the ball, the air molecules. Air is going this way relative to the ball. The string's gonna hit a couple of them and slow it down. So air will be traveling faster up here. So V increases. V decreases slightly. And increases slightly. But where the faster air is you got a pressure drop. Just like over here. As the air comes zipping down across it, underneath the air's not changing its speed, but on top the air gets a little bit faster, pressure drops. Here, air's a little bit faster, pressure drops. And so there's a net force in the direction of less pressure, or away from more pressure, which I think connects to what Caroline was saying. Kiki?
Whichever.
So, now, there's this myth, a thing called the rising fastball. That a ball is thrown so that the ball actually goes up in the air. It actually does not happen. It just drops, it does not drop as quickly. So normally if you throw a ball, it's gonna do something like that. With enough backspin and enough speed, what's gonna happen is the ball is gonna basically hit higher up. Now, professional baseball players are so used to the ball hitting in a certain place, you see the ball being released, and so you have a 10th of a second to decide what you're gonna do, 20th of a second, it's not much time. So your mind's eye projects immediately where the ball's gonna be, and so you picture it being here, it ends up being here. There's an illusion to the batter that the ball goes up, the rising fastball. Now Mythbusters did something on this, I have not seen it, I know they have done something on it, so I don't know whether there's a certain speed, which is not, people are not capable of doing, which would get it to actually rise. Overhead view of a shower. Any of you been attacked by the shower curtain? You're taking a shower and all of a sudden the shower curtain comes in,
Oh, yes.
comes at you. One of you? I got a couple people nodding their heads. All right. At this point, anyone want to speculate why?
Same thing
Is
as
it
the
from the,
paper.
Yes and no, but what is your thinking? What, either of you?
You can go.
the falling water is moving air,
And?
creating fast moving air, which as we just learned is low pressure. And so the high pressure wants to, high pressure wants to fill the low, yeah.
All right, that's pretty much it. There's a counter theory to that, which I'll mention in just a second. Which is why I said yes and no earlier, is that there are competing theories for it. There was even a contest for the best theory for why the shower curtain comes in. All right. Two more examples, and then I'll try to connect it to what Hewitt talks about. Airplanes. The airplane wing, and I have exaggerated the size of it, or it's not this thick on a real airplane wing compared to down here. But as air comes in, air on the bottom, basically just gonna keep going like that. Air on top is you're gonna get this area right here where there's a whole lot of air that sort of builds up. And in order to escape, that air has to go shooting out off of it. So you have a greater speed here. So V goes up. Somewhat related to if you put your finger over the end of a hose, water builds up, it has to get out of the way because more water's coming, and so it squirts out faster, thus farther. So as air goes shooting over the top at a faster speed, what would happen? Ultimately, yes. Pressure drops above it, you get lift. And the last example. I wish I brought the hairdryer in, but I did not. If I take a hairdryer, sure, that'll fix. So we have air blowing out. and then I put a ping pong ball into it. Now I got two major forces acting on the ping pong ball. I've got weight acting down. I have air resistance actually coming up and hitting it. We do not ignore the air resistance here. I can get the ball to stay suspended above it. As I tilt this, I can get the ball also to stay aloft. Even though there's weight acting down, there's this air, basically force from the air acting this way, weight acting down. It seems like the net force would be in that direction. It would eventually go off the air and then fall. However, it doesn't. Why?
I would guess it's sucked back into, I guess, where the air and the hairdryer is.
Expand on that a little bit more. What do you mean sucked back into?
In the second picture, I would guess that the air going over the left side of the, what did you say it was, the ping pong ball or something?
Yeah, it needs to
would
be light enough to work.
faster than the air that it's going into, so that would create a low pressure on the left.
Over here?
Yes.
Close. The difference is, there's still air going on both sides of it. So we have two low pressures here, but it's lower than the pressure out here. So I think as it gets close enough, then it will be sucked back in. But it's primarily being buffeted by, I have higher pressure here, and it's gonna stay where the stream of air is. And maybe I just misinterpreted what you said, but. All right, now, what causes all of this? There's the physics textbook reasoning, and they call it Bernoulli's principle. Bernoulli's principle says that the faster that the fluid flows, the less the pressure is. Hewitt uses these examples and a couple other examples, talking about Bernoulli's principle as examples of Bernoulli's principle. But there's a problem. None of these are Bernoulli's principle. None of the examples Hewitt does are actually Bernoulli's principle. Now the example, I'm not just throwing darts at Hewitt. There are a whole bunch of physics textbooks which use these exact same examples and call it Bernoulli's principle. But they are not. And here's, first off, explain what is Bernoulli's principle and why these don't apply, what these actually are, and then why does a physics textbook, and why do so many physics textbooks actually claim it is. So first off, Bernoulli's principle talks about the pressure within a fluid itself. So if I have water flowing through a pipe right here, it's going to get to this narrow spot because of continuity. It's going to be shooting out faster over here. So my speed is going to increase in the narrow spot. Again, finger over the end of a hose. The pressure in the fluid here, call this P2 and P1, the pressure here is going to be less than the pressure here. That's Bernoulli's principle. Now, why are these not Bernoulli's principle? Well, these are not because, let's start on the left-hand side here, or the right-hand side, as most people would say. This is comparing the pressure here and here. Bernoulli's principle is not comparing pressure from two different flows. Bernoulli does one flow. Same here, two different bits of air, therefore not Bernoulli. Top and bottom, not Bernoulli. Outside and right next to it, not Bernoulli. Bernoulli would deal with this point and this point, but not here and here. The actual effects going on here for the baseball, this is the Magnus Effect. And there's a book called The Physics of Baseball, written by a Princeton professor and a friend of the, at the time, National League Commissioner. He talks about the Magnus Effect, and then one of the footnotes, he says, it is not Bernoulli's principle. If it had been Bernoulli's principle, I would have said Bernoulli's principle. It is the Magnus Effect. The airplane lift, the Kawanda Effect. It's a Czech name, I think. That's why there's that mark above the A. If I got it right, not the right vowel. Oh, no, wrong vowel. It's the last one. This is also Kawanda Effect here. And this is also Kawanda Effect. Now, the shower curtain could be the Kawanda Effect, but the theory that won the prize, the horizontal vortex theory. That as the air goes in, it causes little vortices in the air, which means the air is basically hitting the shower curtain at a glance as opposed to straight on. So similar in principle to all the other ones, but because the full force is not directly onto the shower curtain, there's less pressure ultimately. Now, why do so many physics textbooks do examples of Bernoulli's principle that are not? My thinking is because physicists don't care, ultimately. And you can correct them and they go, yeah, sure, fine. I'm still gonna call it Bernoulli's principle. One, physicists are pig-headed and stubborn. And two, it's mainly an engineering thing. Physicists typically don't work at this level. They work at a much smaller level or at a much grander level. And so this is an engineering thing. Engineers probably should be more concerned. If engineering textbooks did this, if you've taken an engineering class, just go, listen, we all know that's not Bernoulli's principle. Come on. Where'd you learn? But anyway, the assignments for 11 through 14, your personal assignments are there. I'm assuming anybody here found them yet? Okay. So easy enough to understand what you're supposed to do? Okay. So that was due the 30th, I believe. So for chapters 11 through 14, you have your own personal assignments. Go under the chapter 11 through 14 coursework. Go down to textbook problems. You click on the PDF there. You should find your name and then the list of problems that are personally assigned to you. And that is the one assignment that will be handed in. And that's basically the quiz that you for 11 through 14.
You said it's due next week.
It's due 2 weeks from today. Ah, yes.
Can I get those? Is there a way that I can try and get those to you without everybody?
Yeah, I mean, it's posted, you just go on there, bring up the PDF, find your name, and look at the column.
Roger that, we'll do that instead, that's okay.
And taking the test, when are you're taking that at the testing center, or are you taking that?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to schedule the test and set up
Okay.
next Wednesday.
Yeah, sooner than later.
Sooner than later.
For Wednesday? Find out if they're open.
If they're open. Okay, so
Yeah,
probably
but-
gonna have to be next
so-
Tuesday, probably.
Wednesday of next week, the day before Thanksgiving, and I know there are no classes that day. I don't know if the testing center's open or not.
Okay, alright.
So if that's a problem, I got a plan B and a plan C, but
Sooner than later. Today.
Yeah.
Alright,
Yes,
I'll
that
work
would be
on that.
preferred.
Yes, sir, thank you very much, I'm sorry about that.
not a problem. It'll all get straightened out in the end.
Yes, sir, thank you very much.